Alright, welcome back to a brand new series. In this series, we're going to be building the bayou. You might be thinking, where's the bayou? Or what is he talking about? It's this little area here in the Theme Park Tycoon Adventure Resort. It's actually part of Freedomland as it kind of matches the America theme. This part we're going to be building Southeast America, inspired by Louisiana and New Orleans. The theme, besides Louisiana and New Orleans, is also going to be based off of Princess and the Frog, and also the Splash Mountain ride. Alright, so let's get right into it. The first thing I wanted to do was kind of lay down the pathway. It is neighboring Freedomland, kind of sandwiched between Western Ridge and Galactic Outpost. So I don't really have a lot of space to work with when it comes to path. This is a closed path land as it doesn't circle or connect to any other land, just kind of a little extension. So first thing I wanted to do was work on the track layout for Bayou Falls, which is the one that's kind of inspired by Tiana's Bayou Adventure and Splash Mountain. You'll notice a lot of similarities and references to both rides and both movies too. First thing that kind of sucked though is you'll see I kind of had to redo the track layout a few times or kind of work on it, as Theme Park Tycoon 2 does not make making the log ride very easy. It has certain parameters that the track layout or the tracks have to be in to be able to connect. There is a part that you see that I kind of cut out. I realized that, oh shoot, as I was working on the track, it wasn't recording because I kind of paused to try to learn a little bit more on how to build the ride. I forgot to record as I actually got it to work. But you'll notice that the ride kind of circles around inside the salt mine from Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I'll show you my little concept art of what I thought it was going to look like, which has kind of changed since. And it's going to be going through different various scenes of Princess and the Frog movie with references of Song of the South, which is from Splash Mountain, and then it hits the last fall where it goes into the bayou or the little lake in the middle, and then you do a little wrap around and then you go back into the salt mine. My idea is to have one of those big, what are they called? I might have to look it up. Basically one of those boats they use on the Mississippi River that's going to be kind of blocking some of the view from when you come into the land, just because this is right on the edge, and the idea is that there has to be a berm to cover the stuff that's around the edge of the park. I'll be working on that in a later episode. I did get to start working on one of my favorite areas so far of this ride. After the first drop, you kind of get into the bayou, which I try to fill with as many rocks and plants as I could. I also did download some extra plants. There's a website where people will create different models for Theme Park Tycoon 2. You can download them. I use those for some of like the reeds, and I also added some flowers. Now the only thing that sucks about them is they use a lot of parts, so you can't put many of them close to each other as it reaches the item limit in the game. But this area I try to make as detailed as possible, which when I realized after I did like the test of the ride, it kind of goes through pretty quickly, but there are ways that I can modify that where it's going to go a little bit slower. And then I jump into working on the actual queue and loading zone, which I try to make it look a little bit like it's kind of like a log cabin or like a little rustic building. I was looking for a lot of different references about like Louisiana bayou buildings. Inside it's a little hard, so they kind of look like a log cabin type building. And then for the outside I kind of added like that porch, and then with the overhang and right next to the water. Most of them are kind of on stilts, but because the way that I need to have the path go under the ride, I couldn't put it on stilts. But I try to add as many details into it as I could to make it still look like it was kind of like a rustic little cabin in the bayou while also being functional at the same time. One of the things that was kind of annoying is working on the bridge. I would have loved for the bridge to be a little bit more narrow, as it kind of looks super wide compared to the rest of the paths. However, that's kind of due to the game physics. It only allows you to make paths that are like 1 block wide. If you want to be able to go at like a diagonal, you need to do 1 block, you know, just kind of like this diagonal, and then you don't want it to look like it has sharp edges, so then you have to take these triangle blocks to kind of make it look like it's at an angle naturally, which ends up making it a lot wider than you expect it to be. But also working on the bridge in this game with diagonals was kind of hard, so I had to work to make it look nice and try to do a few little tricks to make it look smaller than it is, which I hope worked. If you don't look at it from an aerial view, it doesn't look too crazy. From the side, it looks pretty nice. So after making the little first bayou area that you enter, and I added a few little frogs that are inspired by Tiana and Prince Naveen, I also decided to add another character. It's Luis from Princess and the Frog. It's the alligator. Obviously, making characters in this game, if it's not the little Roblox characters, is a little hard because you have to use different blocks and spheres and such. You'll see my Luis. He looks the best I could make him look. I mean, I'm sure I could get really into detail with it, but when you're on the ride, you'll only see him for a couple seconds. Plus, there's going to be a lot of different plants around him to kind of make him blend in. I wasn't too worried about it. I continued working on some of the exterior, which I probably shouldn't have, but sometimes when I'm working on these videos or just building, I speed these videos up 50 times faster than I'm actually building it at. I do spend a lot of time just in this video. I think it was a combined of 10 plus hours of building, some of which I didn't get to record. Maybe it was a little bit closer to 12 hours all combined. It's all separated into different days, so that's why this video is kind of coming a few months late. I did start working on the bayou area in September, and this video is probably going to come out in December now. It's a lot of work, so sometimes I really do get bored on like one section that I'm working on, so I just try to find something different to work on and kind of give my mind a break, especially when you feel like you're doing a lot of the same stuff. It kind of gets repetitive when you're working on the same stuff. Even though it does look really beautiful, you're putting a lot of like plants and rocks down, then trying to make it all blend together, and it just becomes redundant, or not really redundant, but monotonous. Learned that word at Target when I used to work there. That's the whole story in its own. I also worked on Ray, which is the firefly from Princess and the Frog. Obviously he's a little big because it'd be a little hard to make him small and still visible. Then I worked on the little tunnel which has Ray next to it. It's supposed to be a little like forced perspective kind of thing. We're gonna imagine that Ray is really close up to us and that's why he looks so big, but then the tunnel, when you're going through it, there's different fireflies all around. And I try to make sequencers to make it look like the fireflies are all flashing. I think it looks really nice. In the building part, it might not come off the same way, but when I rode the ride, once I had the roof on and everything, it looks pretty nice. The next area that I started working on was just a continuation of the bayou, but this one I wanted to play a little homage to Splash Mountain. That one, it has Brer Rabbit in it, and I have him sitting on a log. This is probably a little bit more detailed than the area with Luis, and I try to make like little water shooting out of him, I don't know, to kind of make it feel like you're on Splash again. Plus this ride is going to be a combination of a water ride and like a bit of like a roller coaster. I mean, it's a log flume. I mean, if you've written one, you know what I'm talking about. My intentional idea was try to make this ride as similar to the track layout as Tiana's Bayou Adventure or Splash Mountain, whatever you remember it as. However, with the space that I was working with, it's not really possible. Plus this game has limitations on how you can make the ride track. I'm actually very happy with how it turned out. The only thing that sucked was me trying to figure out how the ride layout is gonna go with the story of the ride that I'm trying to work on, because I also had to think of a story for the ride, which right now it almost seems like a little tour of the bayou. I was gonna try to make a story. There will be a story that you might see in the next episode, and I'm saving the rest for another video where there's actually been an update to Theme Park Tycoon 2, which will really help with the exterior of the ride, because they added a lot more detailed plants, and plant cells have flowers, so kind of match what the Tiana's Bayou Adventure ride is supposed to look like from the outside, and kind of match my concept art. That was one thing that I was kind of struggling with. I was like, I wonder how I'm gonna make different flowers in the salt mine or on the exterior of the salt mine without reaching the item limit, or if I decide I don't like them, how can I remove them? This update will be nice, and I can't wait to see you guys on the next episode. I know that this video seemed like there wasn't too crazy much, but I hope you enjoyed watching it. Thank you.